puffy tacos in San Antonio, tacos with donuts, and Taco Bell almost breaking up a marriage. This week, it's all about tacos.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is for foodies who like to travel and travelers who love to eat. And to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, we're sampling some of the best tacos of all time. But first, if you like the podcast, just take a second and rate and review the show on your podcast app. And if you'd like to support Destination Eat Drink, you can download one of my foodie travel ebooks. I have travel and food guides to cities in Spain and Portugal, as well as my new guide to Ghent, Belgium. You can download yours at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. And thank you very, very much. Okay, let's talk tacos. Fish tacos, breakfast tacos, jerk tacos, and wander off into the tamale land with the tamale ladies on the corner. And I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Jose Arrelat has the greatest job in the world. He's the taco editor at Texas Monthly and a two-time James Beard Award winner for journalism. He tells me about some tacos in Texas. One of the ones that I love that you talk about is the jerk tacos. We talk about these different cultures meshing together, and these jerk tacos is another example of that, right?
Yes and no. So this is really fascinating because what you're talking about is the Jerk Shack.
The Jerk Shack, right, in San Antonio.
In San Antonio, yeah. So that was started by Nicola Black and her husband, and both of them are military vet. And so she's a native Jamaican and wanted to really bring the food of her homeland to San Antonio. And if you're going to open up a restaurant in San Antonio and put it on the historically Mexican-American West Side, you better serve tacos.
Right.
And so that's what she did. And they're expanding now. Again, the pairing is a natural. It's highly seasoned grilled meats, lots of spice, although not as much as you would think. Nicola toned down the jerk rub recipe when she noticed that it was overwhelming customers' palates, and really that's not what you want to do, right? Because you're gonna lose customers if the food is too hot to eat.
You're going to go out of business pretty quick, I guess, without any customers.
Yeah. But it's been extremely successful, and it's extremely good.
So that's the West Indian taco. I called it the jerk taco. It's the West Indian taco, which is a cool amalgamation. The other thing that strikes me is that, we talk about all of these different kinds of tacos, and we're talking about the meat, how the meat is prepared, what are the different kinds of meat. You talk about this in your book as well, the pork, chicken, beef, standard tacos. But what about vegetarian and vegan tacos? Is this becoming a big thing in Texas these days?
It is. Part of that is due to the pandemic because the food supply chain is all wonky right now, and meat prices are up and down as well. Here's the thing. Pre-Hispanic Mexican food was largely vegetarian and vegan. Pork and beef and chicken were introduced by Europeans. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't small game available to the indigenous Mesoamericans. There certainly was, but now what we're seeing are not just looking back at what vegetarian recipes there might be, but also looking at substitutes. And one of my favorites is Yellow City Street Food in Amarillo. They also have a jerk taco.
Hmm.
There's a place in San Antonio called Tapatio Vegan, but one of the most fascinating places is called Mariachi's Drive-In, which is in Fort Worth. And they started out as this little taco counter inside a gas station convenience store. They had the regular pork, beef, chicken tacos, but there was a lot of demand for vegetarian and vegan options. So they created a mirror menu that is their regular menu offered completely vegan, usually with soy protein substitutes. I'm not a big fan of meat substitutes. I think if you're going to do vegetarian or vegan, you should use plants. Mariachi's Dine-In does. They use banana flour to create this lightly battered and fried Baja style taco. It is fantastic. It's got great chew. It's substantial. It's got a little spice to it with the chipotle mayo. But it's just one of many places that are now really coming to the forefront.
Now, Jose, you mentioned the Baja style taco. Maybe that's something that we could explore a little bit more. What exactly is a Baja style taco?
Well, it's really a misnomer, but in the popular nomenclature, it is a fish taco that is battered and fried and served in a taco with cabbage and chipotle mayo.
Gotcha. Okay, famous fish tacos.
Yes.
Now, your latest article in Texas Monthly is about the San Antonio Taco Trail. You don't live in San Antonio, you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but you're a big proponent, a big cheerleader for San Antonio tacos. So just reading your stuff, I know how much you love them. Let's talk a little bit about San Antonio tacos. What is San Antonio famous for when it comes to tacos?
Puffy tacos are one, and that is a raw corn masa disc that is deep fried. As it fries, it inflates, and then it's crimped to form that familiar U shape. It's quickly removed from the oil, filled with any number of things. I prefer typical picadillo, ground meat with what I call the Tex-Mex trinity of tomatoes, lettuce, and cheese.
Right.
And they should be crispy and crunchy on the outside and soft and chewy on the inside. They should be really light, not oily. And they structurally don't have a long lifetime. So you can't really take great photos of them. Typically 30 seconds is all you got before they start to turn
mushy and greasy and all
mush.
that.
Yeah.
That yuck. Yeah, that you want to have the place where you're getting them fresh out of the fryer. I mean, that's important with so many different foods, but it sounds like the puffy taco, you got to get a fresh one. If I'm going to San Antonio, Jose, where would you steer me to get a really good puffy taco?
To a restaurant owned by the Lopez family branches. So there's Ray's Drive-In and Henry's Puffy Taco, which has 2 locations. Ray's has been around since the 50s. Henry's, I think, since the 70s. They were started by brothers, Ray and Henry Lopez, and the respective branches of the family operate them to this day. San Antonio is also known for its breakfast tacos.
Yeah, let's talk breakfast tacos.
Yeah. A lot of people might be familiar with the breakfast taco as an egg-based filling in a flour tortilla. And that is certainly true. But in San Antonio and South Texas, the breakfast taco pantheon is revealed in its full glory So you can have a bone-in pork chop taco for breakfast in a fresh flour tortilla. You can have country sausage. You can have all kinds of things. There's an offshoot of tacos called super tacos, and they're mammoth concoctions of all kinds of ingredients. And those are really popular for breakfast. But my personal favorites are the pork chop and the machacado con huevo a la mexicana. Machacado is pulverized, dried salt beef that is reconstituted in eggs and then topped with pico de gallo.
Kevin Russell is the award-winning singer and songwriter for the band Shiny Ribs. He was also in the band The Gourds and worked with the legendary Doug Somm. He tells me about the inspiration for the song Donut Taco Palace.
So I want to talk about the song Donut Taco Palace, because Donut Taco Palace is a real place in Austin. I think the original one might have closed, but there's Donut Taco Palace 2 is open. I'm not sure about the facts on this. But anyway, talk about Donut Taco Palace, because it's such a Austin type thing to me.
Yeah. Well, I think the people that opened it are, I want to say they're either Filipino or Indonesian. So the strike is the reason I went there eventually. It was right next to my children's middle school that they went to at the time. There was a middle school called Clint Small Middle School, and it was at an exit called Industrial Oaks, which I thought was hilarious too. I'm like, what is an industrial oak? That always made me laugh. Was Industrial Oaks, which I think would be a good band name. And so there was this, and they loved Donut Taco Palace, and so it was right by the school. And every Friday we would go early and get donuts from Donut Taco Palace, and they would go to school early and hang out with their friends and eat donuts, and it's a tradition. So, but every time I walk into that place, that hook, Donut Taco Palace, Donut Taco, that would just be in my head, and it was in my head for a couple of years. And I would always say to myself, I really need to write that song. It's just stuck in my head, and I've got to write it. So eventually, I did write the song. I was going after kind of a Doug Somm, Joe King Carrasco kind of thing. That's what it was suggested to me. It's a cool place though. It's like it's donuts, as I said, and they have tacos. And like I tell a lot of people, they're not the best tacos. They're not the worst tacos. They're just the ones that are closest to my house, right? So I don't want people to think just because I'm singing about it, it's great, right? Same with Lake Charles. People send me pictures where they're driving through Lake Charles and they're all excited. They're like, "We're in Lake Charles," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Not really. I mean, it's kind of like Ray Wiley Hubbard says, the thing about irony is no one ever gets it. Right.
You didn't mean to glamorize. You weren't glamorizing the place.
Yeah, I'm not glamorous, but music can do that, and if you write songs about a place, it tends to glamorize it. But Lake Charles is lovely. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, so you go into this place and it's very small, and they're churning out the donuts. The tacos are pre-made. It's not like fresh or anything, and it's pretty basic, really. And then there's like some Buddha. They have Buddhas all over the place, and like a little Buddha tip jar, and they're Buddhists. And I just thought that was just such a cool fusion of things, donuts and tacos and Buddhists next to Clint Small Middle School at Industrial Oaks Boulevard. All that together just really turned me on. I just thought, this is so great. It just stimulated me.
Only in Austin, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the way I see the world. I look around, and when I observe things, and when they sort of make an interesting fusion, things that seem opposed that are suddenly together and it makes sense somehow. I love that kind of stuff. So, and they actually do have something called a donut taco, and it's basically like a torta, but it's fried. It's like fried donut bread. And then they fill it with whatever, bacon, eggs, sausage. And so I got a donut taco once, and man, it is one of the heaviest things I've ever
Oh,
eaten.
geez, I can imagine.
I could maybe eat a third of it. I was like, oh, I gotta stop. This is ridiculous.
So getting back to the song Donut Taco Palace, one thing I notice about that song, you talked about all the different gumbo of sounds that you put in there. To me, the chorus of Donut Taco Palace almost sounds punk rock to me. Do you got some of that in you?
Oh, definitely. No, the early '80s. That's what I was in Shreveport, and I was a North Louisiana punk rocker for sure. That is definitely my roots are there, and that's my teenage years were full of SST bands like Husker Du, Minutemen, Replacements, X. Those kind of bands I love. Gun Club, some of my favorite bands, Meat Puppets. I'm definitely from that school.
I can definitely see pogoing to Donut Taco Palace. I don't know if a pogo ever breaks out in a mosh pit at a Shiny Rib Show, but I can see it for that song.
Yeah.
Eunice Reyes is a popular YouTuber and travel guide at Rated V. She's also a Taste Award winner. She tells me about vegan chili relanos. Let's move on to tacos because I watched a video you did and I just thought it was the most genius thing that I've ever heard in my life because you came up and it seemed like it happened on the spot. Like as you were thinking of this, you were saying it. You were trying vegan chili relanos, and I can't remember the name of the place where you did it, but you said they need to come up with a vegan chili relano taco. And it's like, I've been eating chili relanos for decades. I've loved them, and it never occurred to me to put it inside a tortilla, but it's the perfect combination because you've got the pepper and the cheese and all the good stuff, and then you have it wrapped in a tortilla. I mean, this is
I know.
This is
More
like
people need to
Pulitzer Prize-worthy geniusness, Eunice.
Thank you. We need to propose this to people. Put my name on it. The Rated V taco.
Just call it the Eunice.
Exactly. So
tell me about this.
Yeah. So that restaurant is called Luna Azul, and they specialize in Mexican cuisine, and obviously a staple to Mexican cuisine is chile rellenos, and they're usually poblano chilies that are stuffed with cheese. I don't know now if they were if they make a vegan version, but I'm sure they did. No, they did. I can't remember. Sorry. It's because that video, just disclaimer, I was vegetarian still. Those are the early days of Rated V when it was like a vegetarian vegan channel, and then I became vegan, so it became a vegan channel. but what's it called? Yes. So they had a bunch of different dishes. They offer vegan tacos, but they did have a lot of vegan options, like tons. And the reason I came up with the whole idea is because, so typically in a lot of Mexican restaurants, you can find tacos de rajas. So rajas are essentially roasted poblano peppers that are sliced. So those are like in strips. So that's why they call it rajas. And so it's essentially the same pepper. It's just one of them is stuffed with, with whatever ingredient you have. And then typically it's cheese. And then, and it's so a chile relleno, for those that don't know, traditionally, it's roasted poblano pepper stuffed with cheese or whatever, like vegan cheese in this case, or whatever ingredient you want, and then it's dipped in some kind of like egg batter. But the vegan version will be like chickpea batter. That's how I found is the best one to replace that. And then you fry it, and then it's drenched in a red salsa, and it's delicious. It's one of the best dishes ever. So imagine that cut up and then put it in a taco, because all these plates are always served with tortillas, right? Tortillas, rice, and beans. That's your typical Mexican plate, which is the best way to eat anything. So of course, obviously, like you kind of make your own tacos when you are served with tortillas, and you can add like some rice and then just like a good chunk of the chile relleno, and it's delicious. They really should just sell chile relleno tacos, like you said. Like, I don't know why nobody does this. I mean, they do take a while to make. I guess that's probably why people are like, this is way too much effort, but I think it'd be worth it for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd line up for that, days in
Right?
advance.
Now I'm craving. Now I'm like, oh, I haven't had chili rellenos in a while. I should make them. I should make a video, a recipe, write a video for that. Actually,
Absolutely. Put it on the list. I'm sure you're busy,
yeah.
Eunice. Dilla is a Chicago historian who is the founder of Chicago Mahogany Tours. He talks with me about the famous Pilsen neighborhood, its history, and how now it is famous for tacos. Let's talk about another neighborhood, the Pilsen neighborhood. I know about this neighborhood because it was originally a Czech neighborhood, and I have some ancestors that go back many hundred years to what's now the Czech Republic. So I'm always interested in Pilsen, but the Czechs are long gone from there. It's now really, I don't know, for the last 50 years or so, ever since I was growing up in Chicago, it's been mostly a Hispanic neighborhood. Tell me a little bit about what makes Pilsen an exciting place to go.
So it's one of Chicago's oldest neighborhoods because of its proximity to the Chicago River. A lot of the early Chicago factories were settled there. In fact, on 15th and Halsted, that they had workers went on strike for the McCormick Reapers work, and a lot of your countrymen, the early Czechs were working there, as well as other European immigrants who worked for those factories. Anyway, they went on strike. The police went over there, knocked some heads, and in protest of the police brutality that happened on 15th and Halsted, 3 days later, they had another protest on Randolph and Halsted, and the world refers to that as the Haymarket riot, which created
riot.
May Day.
Yeah.
Right, which created the May Day holiday, but it was the Czechs and Pilsen who kind of kicked the whole thing off. So we talk about that on those corners. We go to what's today University Village. It was formerly the South Watergate Market, which is what brought in a lot of the Mexican immigrants to Chicago because it was an open air produce market, right? And so, they would farm local, because, right, we think about Plainfield now, but all that stuff around us then, especially early 1940s, was farmland, right?
Right.
And so Mexican immigrants would, buy from those farmers out there and set up shops here at that market. And because of its proximity to Pilsen, also, like I just said, Pilsen is one of Chicago's oldest neighborhoods. And so when new immigrant populations come to Chicago, either the Mexican population, Puerto Rican population, Black folks via the Great Migration, they always go to the oldest section of the city. Why? Because the rent's the cheapest, right? The new stuff, they charge you new money. The old stuff, the rent's the cheapest, right? So Pilsen also is a great example of the Chicago street grade. So if you're walking, when a lot of those houses, you have to kind of go down 5 steps to go through the front door. And that's because the street around it was lifted to install sewers, right? And so that's a clear demonstration of some cool municipality work. You see it all through Pilsen. And then, of course, you see the remnants of the Bohemian Czechs in the names on the buildings that are constructed, especially the real big ones on 18th Street.
The Bohemian Czechs, those are my people. South Bohemia, that's where that's where they came from. So what kind of food are we going to have in Pilsen? We're not going to have Czech food. We're going to have Mexican food. What's your favorite, Dilla?
Before I tell you that, right? My wife is from East St. Louis, and so I remember when she started to get used to Chicago. She said, "Hey, Dilla, I want to go get some tacos. Can you take me to Taco Bell?" And I almost pulled the car over and told, I don't know if this thing's going to work, baby. We don't eat Taco Bell in Chicago.
There's certain places I got to draw the line.
Yeah, I can, this thing is to death do us part unless you go to Taco Bell's in the Chicago proper. So that day I took her to Pilsen and we went to Luna. It's on 18th and Racine. But you can't go wrong in Pilsen, up and down Cermak, up and down 18th Street. I'd be doing it disjustice to name some. They have 5-star cuisine there. In Pilsen, sometimes they have featured guest chefs from other places. And then this little village, just good old fashioned street carts, right? What do you call the Mexican corn? In Chicago, that's what we call it. I know it has a proper name. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the culture, but in Chicago, it's called Mexican corn, right, with the mayo and the cheese and the pepper and all that, right? elote maybe is what it's called. But yeah, it's the tamale ladies on the corner, right? Like the only English that the lady speaks is how much your change is going to be, and that's how you know it's going to be ready to be the best tamale you've ever had in your life. Right? She's probably got up at 3 a.m. and it's been hand making the whole thing. So you can't lose in Kosa.
Okay, that's Dilla from Chicago Mahogany Tours. You can book a tour with him at chicagomahogany.com. And Eunice is on YouTube at youtube.com @ratedv. Kevin's music is at shinyribs.com, and Jose's website is joserelat.net. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we are in the UK for a good drop in Wrexham, orange chips, and Indian food in old British pubs. So don't miss that. Until then, there's tons of foodie travel at destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a story about Belgium's world-famous cookie. And even if you don't know it, you've probably already had it if you've been on a plane recently. Read the story at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I also posted a brand new video. It's about the best drinks in Malta, including one made from prickly pear cactus. You can watch that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. And I've also got my foodie travel guide to Portugal available at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. It has all kinds of cool things to do, the best dishes, the best drinks in 17 cities and towns in Portugal. Download yours for just $9.99 at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thank you, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.